Hello. Hi, good morning, everyone. So it's a real pleasure to be here. First, I'd just like to thank all the organizers, so everyone involved in this project, and please do donate. So this is a great opportunity to help our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico. So I'd encourage everyone to please donate. So can everyone hear me? Yes? No? Great. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the inclusive classroom and some strategies that we can put in place in order to have an inclusive classroom. So let's take a look at a quick question. So for this question, we're going to think about whether we've ever had a classroom that was a place where all our students were exactly the same. So this is probably something that none of us have ever experienced, because a classroom is full of differences. So students have different personalities, they have different needs, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how we can address those differences in the classroom. So let's go on to the next slide. And great. So as I was mentioning, our classrooms will have different levels, so that we will have a multi-level group. We could have a group that has different ages, that is culturally diverse, so students who have particular educational needs. There are times that we might have students who have a learning disability, who might be cognitively challenged. So these are things, or different disabilities. And we might have students who have varied personalities. So sometimes certain students will identify as introverts versus extroverts. And we also could have students that have mental health needs. So students who have anxiety, or that are going through depression or bipolar disorder. So these are important things to have in mind. And each group will bring particular needs to the table. So let's take a look at what we mean by an inclusive and a supportive learning environment. So let's go on to the next slide. And here we'll see two definitions. By inclusion, we're thinking about the fact that all people, regardless of their ability, disability, healthcare needs, that they all have a right to be respected and appreciated as valuable members of their community. And what we mean by learning supports in this particular case is that they're all the resources, strategies, practices that provide physical, emotional, social, intellectual supports intended to enable students to have an equal opportunity for success by addressing the barriers to and promoting engagement in learning and teaching. So that's really what we all want, an environment where everyone feels successful, where everyone feels like they can contribute to the community, and where they feel respected. So this is what we're aiming towards in our classrooms. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different ways that we can make our classrooms more inclusive. So let's go on to the next slide. And here we'll see 3 ways that we can do this. So in order to make our classrooms more inclusive, first, we can modify how students encounter the material. So this is representation. So how the material is presented, so how the information and the content is presented, will help our students feel resourceful, knowledgeable, and more in tune with what is happening in the classroom. Then we have actions and expressions, which basically mean that we can differentiate or adapt the different ways that students express what they know. So how they can demonstrate what they've learned in the classroom. And lastly, we're going to think about different ways that we can engage students. So how can we make sure that our students feel stimulated, motivated, and that they can all feel involved in the classroom? So first, we're going to start off with 4 different strategies that we can apply for representation. So let's go on to the next slide. And here we'll see a few ways that we can vary representation. So first, we want to make sure that we're addressing the senses so that we have a multimodal approach. This means that we're not only addressing visual students or auditory students, but that there's actually a combination of approaches in order for our students to encounter the material that they're focusing on that day. So this can be done by varying media. integrating images, videos, and technology in order to encourage this multi-sensory approach. Another thing that we can also carry out or do is to simplify the content or the resources that we're using. Often the books that we use in our classrooms can be very busy. So they have a lot going on. There are a lot of images, different text, many exercises. Certain students might have a hard time keeping track of where we are and what they need to do. So something that we can do in this particular case is to help students focus on what's important by potentially making text larger or providing multicolored or color-coded texts, taking certain exercises out of the book so that students know that they should just focus on this. This is particularly important for students who have challenges with focusing and with attention. Then another thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is providing for opportunities of clarity. So clarification will be important by setting up opportunities for questions to be asked. This can be with the teacher, it can be with peers, it can be anonymous. So students can ask questions and have the clarity with the content and the language that's being discussed on that particular day. So it's important for our students to know that they can ask questions, that those channels are there. And lastly, we're going to talk about how to use prior knowledge. So we want to make sure that our students feel confident about the content that's being discovered by linking it to what students already know. So using their background knowledge, recycling as much as possible will ensure that our students feel more confident and that they're able to make stronger connections to what they're learning. Now let's take a look at how we can vary actions and expressions. And we said that this was the way that students can express or demonstrate what they've learned. So in order to ensure that inclusion is being focused on, we can differentiate. So by doing this, we adapt tasks, material, support, and expectations. And so different students are expected to do different things with the material that's provided, but they're all moving towards the same goals. Another aspect that we can integrate is offering choice. This can be done by offering options. So for example, we can have 5 different things that need to be done in the class, and students can choose 2. So here students feel that they have a sense of agency, so they can choose, but also we know that we're working towards the objectives that we've set in the classroom. Another way that we can vary actions and expressions is by setting up some preparation time. So what we can do is we can build in think time, preparation tasks, such as filling out a graphic organizer or giving students tasks to do research. And that way they will feel more prepared for what is coming next, and they can actually offer better interventions. They can be better prepared for the group work that will be put in place. Then we also want to promote self-assessment opportunities, and this can be done by offering opportunities for students to notice what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and what kind of feedback would benefit them to do better. So this is another thing that we want to build into learning opportunities, and when students express what they've learned, giving them feedback in a way that benefits them. Now let's take a look at the next point, which is focusing on engagement. So in order for our students to feel motivated, we want to first make sure that the material is relevant. This is going to be especially important when we have groups that are culturally diverse. So sometimes we might cater to a particular group more than others. So we want to make sure that everyone feels that the material is meaningful to them, that it relates to their lives in some way. So then this is something that's going to be important. Also, we want to vary interaction. So often when we have introverted versus extroverted students, we want to make sure that there are solo opportunities for students to work because they need that quiet time. And then also we want to emphasize norms, roles, and goals for collaboration to be built in. Then we also want to lower downtime. So in order to do this, what we can do is set up stations, we can set up expansion tasks. Then we want to offer challenge for everyone. So modifying the amount of support that is provided will ensure that that challenge is different from one student to another. And then lastly, we want to make sure that our students have checkpoints so that they can notice that they're making progress towards their personal goals. So we're going to finish this a segment of our session with just a couple other tips. So in the last slide, we'll take a look at 4 different tips that we can apply in our classrooms. So first, we want to make sure that our expectation is always high. Everyone feels successful. Everyone knows that we are confident in their abilities, that there's a supportive peer culture, that communication is being set up, and that opportunities for that to take place are there, and that daily routines are being structured into the classroom so that everyone knows where we are and where we're heading. So thank you everyone for this opportunity. I just like to finish with a thought. So inclusion is an opportunity to come together rather than to drift apart. So thank you everyone.